Chosen one. God rose, not because you were about to collapse, but because in the hour of your deepest pain, you chose kindness instead of retaliation. I want you to pause and understand this clearly, because the meaning of that moment is far greater than anything your eyes could see. When betrayal pushed you to the edge of anguish, you had every reason to condemn, expose, and make the other person taste the very suffering they had caused you. No one could have blamed you for becoming angry, because the wound was real, the injustice was real, and your tears were entirely genuine. Yet, in the middle of that violent storm, you kept your hands from acting without wisdom, restrained your mouth from speaking words that could have burned everything down, and guarded your heart from becoming a dwelling place for hatred. That quiet choice caused heaven to look upon you with profound honor. I, Michael, stood beside you in that unseen moment. I know you did not remain silent because you were weak. You remained silent because you understood that some victories require no celebration. Some battles cannot be won by defeating an opponent. And sometimes, the noblest strength is refusing to become like the one who wounded you. You trembled, you cried, and you wrestled with countless thoughts that tried to pull you into anger. Yet, in the end, you preserved your dignity. That restraint was not surrender. It was evidence that you had stepped beyond the authority of the wound. The person who hurt you may have touched your emotions, but they no longer possessed the power to decide who you would become. God did not rise because you were a helpless victim who needed to be rescued from every consequence of life. He rose because you demonstrated that the trial could not bend the goodness placed within you. If rescue alone had been needed, one command would have been enough to calm the storm. Close the dangerous door, or remove you from injustice. But something deeper took place. He rose like a father who saw his child not only endure the fire, but walk out of it with a heart that had not been consumed by resentment. He saw that you did not use your freedom to destroy. He saw that you refused to allow pain to turn you into an instrument of darkness. Therefore, his rising was not an expression of pity, it was an act of recognition. Beloved, do not confuse this recognition with a requirement to continue enduring mistreatment. Kindness does not mean returning to the place that broke you. Forgiveness does not require you to restore access to someone who has never genuinely changed. Silence at a wise moment does not mean concealing the truth forever. There are times when you must speak about what happened. Seek protection, establish boundaries, or leave a harmful relationship. What causes heaven to rejoice is not that you sacrifice yourself until nothing remains, but that you choose to act from wisdom rather than hatred. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to close the door, but close it without placing a curse upon the person standing on the other side. What you did after prayer revealed your true character more clearly than any words could. Many people ask for peace, yet when insulted, they immediately use anger as a weapon. Many pray for justice while secretly longing to see another person destroyed. But although you were still hurting, you did not permit revenge to become your master. You released judgment from your hands, not because wrong became right, but because you understood that hands created to build should not remain forever clenched around broken pieces. That was the moment you crossed a threshold of maturity you had never crossed before. You stopped living only in reaction to what others did and began living according to the values you had chosen to preserve. I know there were nights when you wondered whether your silence made you the loser. You saw the one who wounded you continue living while you were left to gather the shattered pieces of your peace. You may have thought your kindness brought no benefit. That strength belonged to the one who spoke louder, retaliated faster, or forced the other person to bow. But I tell you that your victory is not measured by how much pain the other person experiences. True victory is that you are no longer bound to them. When you no longer need to destroy anyone in order to feel restored, you have left the prison. When the mention of their name no longer causes your heart to sink, you have reclaimed your freedom. When you can remember what happened without wanting to become the judge, you have traveled far beyond the one who tried to pull you down. The honor coming to you may not appear as applause, fame, or public recognition. Sometimes it arrives as a deep peace no one can take away. Sometimes it is a new door that leads you to people who know how to value your sincerity. Sometimes it is the clarity to recognize who should remain and who no longer belongs on the road ahead. Perhaps the honor is the moment you look into the mirror and no longer see someone who was betrayed, but someone who overcame betrayal without losing the light. God does not need to turn another person into a failure in order to lift you higher. He can bring you to a greater place without requiring you to step upon anyone. From now on, do not tell your story as though you are only someone who was treated unjustly. That happened, but it is not your final identity. Tell the story of how you were tested, but not distorted, wounded, but not deprived of the ability to love, pushed down, but unwilling to live forever, with your head bowed. You do not need to deny your pain to prove your strength. Your strength lies in your ability to admit that you were once broken and then patiently rebuild with better materials. Every boundary you establish in peace. Every decision not to return to the former cycle. And every word you choose to speak with wisdom reveals that you have truly entered a new season. Beloved, God rose to witness the maturity born within you, to confirm that the trial did not steal what was most precious, and to open a road worthy of a heart that has been refined. Do not use this moment to place yourself above others. Let it make you more humble, gentle, and responsible with the light you carry. You have learned that kindness is not weakness, that silence at the right time can be more powerful than 1,000 accusations, and that dignity does not need to shout in order to be recognized. I am beside you as you continue, not to help you return what was done to you, but to teach you to transform pain into wisdom, loss into compassion, and the old battle into a lamp, guiding you toward a life of freedom. Therefore, lift your head, not because you were never wounded, but because the wound could not rule you, not because everyone understood your choice, but because God knows how hard you fought to preserve your purity. The moment he rose was not a declaration that you needed pity. It was a sign that you were ready to be entrusted with more. Enter what is new, with hands no longer holding hatred, with a heart that has learned to love while preserving boundaries, and with eyes clear enough to recognize that the highest honor is becoming someone whom darkness did everything in its power to destroy, but could not. You are being called into a significant moment, not because you are perfect, but because from the beginning you have belonged to a purpose greater than anything you once believed about yourself. I know you have often wondered why heaven would set its attention upon you among so many people, why trials continued one after another, and why the dreams within you never completely died, even after life covered them with so many layers of disappointment. The answer lies in what you quietly preserved through the years, a small but persistent light, an inner stirring that refused to die, and a calling that continued speaking every time you rose after believing you could not go on. You may have thought it was merely the instinct to survive, but I saw preparation in every step. Each time you refused to surrender, you protected the seed of purpose. Each time you emerged from brokenness without allowing bitterness to possess you, you kept the flame alive for this day. Now that fire no longer wants to remain hidden. It is being stirred into brightness so that it may illuminate your road and become a sign to those still struggling in darkness. Consider Esther, a woman who could have chosen silence to preserve her own safety. She entered a position she had never imagined would become the place where the destiny of an entire people would be decided. What made her different was not the absence of fear, but her recognition that there are moments when silence becomes more dangerous than standing up. You are approaching such a moment. What you have recently endured was not merely intended to help you survive a difficult season. It trained you to listen, observe, discern, and remain steady when pressure rises. You learned not to make decisions only from panic, to look beneath appearances, and to recognize what was truly happening. Those lessons are preparing you for a broader role. You may be called to lead, protect someone vulnerable, or open a new road within your family, workplace, or community. Your voice may become what another person needs to hear before they dare to rise. Yet every great thing begins with a small response. Are you willing to say yes to what is right before knowing the entire outcome? Saying yes does not mean possessing every answer. It means trusting enough to take the first step while the road ahead is still unclear. I do not require you to see the entire journey. I only want you to recognize the next step. It may be a decision you have delayed because you feared failure. It may be a dream you buried because others mocked it. It may be forgiveness you know you must offer so that you can release yourself from the past. It may also be leaving a familiar place that no longer supports your growth. Whatever it is, if it continually returns to your heart with deep peace rather than haste, pay attention. Some doors open only when you place your hand upon them and begin to push. The resources may not be fully visible now, but they often gather once you truly begin moving. The right people, necessary knowledge, and strength you do not believe you possess may appear only after you step away from your former position. You have repeatedly proven that the limits within your thoughts are not the final limits of your life. Remember the times when you looked at a situation and believed you could never overcome it. Yet you are still here. There were days when you had very little strength and still completed what was necessary. There were losses that convinced you peace would never return. Yet little by little, you learned to breathe more deeply, sleep more peacefully, and recover joy in small things. Other people may not have seen those victories, but they are evidence of an endurance refined through fire. I do not want you to forget what you have survived when facing a new challenge. This time, you are not beginning from nothing. You carry experience, discernment, and a heart that has learned how to rise. What lies ahead may be greater, but you are no longer the weak person you once were. Yet to enter what is new, you must agree to release your former self. The scars may remain, but they must not be permitted to direct your path. You do not need to hide them or feel ashamed of what occurred. They are evidence that you passed through a battle and were not consumed by it. But if you continually use the past to explain why you cannot move forward, Your scars will become chains. I am calling you to stop introducing yourself through what others did to you, the rejection you received, or the mistakes you made. You have learned, matured, and gained the right to walk under a new name. You are no longer someone who only endures. You are becoming someone who chooses. You no longer merely react to circumstances. You are learning to create direction through wisdom and courage. Imagine a great door standing before you. It is not locked, but it feels so heavy that you believe you cannot open it. Its weight is made from years of accumulated fear, words of doubt you heard for too long, and memories that cause your hands to tremble whenever you prepare to begin again. On the other side is not a life without challenges, but a wider space where you can live according to purpose, breathe in peace, and use gifts that were once hidden. That door will not open merely because you stand before it wishing. You must place your hands upon it. Use what you have learned, and push with all the steadiness you possess. The test did not come to crush you. It taught you how to use your strength. Delay taught patience. Betrayal taught discernment. Solitude taught you to listen. Beginning again taught you that failure cannot determine the ending. You also need to understand that the abundance beyond the door is not only material, it may be freedom from fear, clarity about direction, healthier relationships, and the ability to live without continually asking permission from others to be yourself. Your finances may improve, your work may expand, or a new opportunity may arrive. But what matters most is that you are mature enough not to lose yourself when these things appear. I do not want you to enter the new season with greed, haste, or the need to prove your worth. I want you to enter with gratitude, humility, and awareness that everything entrusted to you carries responsibility. The higher you are lifted, the more willing you must be to bow in service. The more light you carry, the more you must use it to help others see the road. Therefore, beloved, stop asking whether you deserve to pass through that door. Ask whether you are ready to live according to what has been prepared within you. I do not need you to become fearless. I only need you to refuse to let fear command you. I do not need you to see the whole plan. I only need you to remain faithful to today's step. Release what has completed its season. Forgive what needs to be freed. And lay down the words that caused you to diminish yourself. You have stood before the door long enough. Use the patience, resilience, and faith refined through every trial. Place your hand upon the door, push it open, and step through with an awakened heart. What awaits you is not a strange life, but the life you were born to live. Beloved, the very things that once brought you low are quietly becoming steps leading you to the place I prepared long ago. Look again at Joseph's journey. As a young man carrying great dreams, he was betrayed by those closest to him, sold like an object, removed from his home, and forced into an entirely unfamiliar life. When he had begun rebuilding trust, he was falsely accused, thrown into confinement, and forgotten by someone who had benefited from his help. In the eyes of the world, his life appeared to be a continuous failure, a person being crushed by circumstances while every door remained closed. But I did not see him as the crowd did. In the lowest place, I saw a leader being trained. During the days when no one spoke his name, I saw someone learning to manage emotions, preserve integrity, and use wisdom without allowing bitterness to pollute his heart. Each time he believed he was being pushed farther from the dream, he was actually moving one step closer to the place where he needed to stand. Your story is not meaningless either. Even though there were seasons when you could not understand why you had to endure so much, I saw the nights when you turned your face toward the darkness and allowed the tears to fall. The times when you tried to appear strong so that no one else would worry. And the moments when you stood among many people yet felt completely invisible. Not one sigh was forgotten. When you believed your life was standing still. Patience was still growing within you. When you thought you were merely surviving another day. Maturity was quietly taking root. When you received no gratitude, recognition, or answer you desired. You were learning to do what was right, not for applause, but because your heart knew it was true. Hidden seasons are not empty periods. They are the place where I separate you from the need for constant approval, so that you can enter the future without being governed by the crowd's opinions. There were times when you believed you would fall, yet you still rose. Some days you had strength for only one small step, but that step kept you from returning to the place where you were once imprisoned. Some considered you weak because you remained silent, but they did not know you were fighting not to say words you would regret. Others watched you leave and assumed you had failed, but they did not understand that you were choosing peace instead of remaining in circumstances that drained you. Your strength does not always appear through dramatic action. Often, it appears when you remain kind after betrayal, willing to believe in goodness after disappointment, and capable of loving without permitting yourself to be exploited. You did not emerge from the trial empty-handed. You carried discernment, endurance, and strength no one can take from you. Therefore, when I say you are ready, it does not mean you have become perfect or no longer experience fear. Readiness means you have learned enough not to repeat every former mistake. You now understand that an open door is not necessarily your door. A sweet promise does not always carry sincerity, and not everyone who receives your kindness has the right to enter deeply into your life. You learned the value of peace, the importance of boundaries, and that success is never worth sacrificing integrity. These lessons did not come easily. They were written through tears, waiting, and decisions that sometimes left you alone for a season. But they will help you manage greater things without losing the purity placed within you. Listening to my plan does not merely mean waiting for a strange voice or chasing an intense feeling that appears for a moment. It is a deep transformation in the way you see, think, and choose. You will begin to recognize that you no longer fit certain former ways of living. Conversations that once attracted you now feel heavy. Habits that once brought temporary comfort now leave you empty. And places where you tried to belong can no longer keep you. Guidance often begins this way, not loudly, but persistently, not by force, but with increasing clarity. You will feel urged to reorder your life, heal what you have avoided, complete unfinished work, and courageously move toward what aligns more closely with the person you are becoming. The signs along your road are not meant to make you obsessed with mystery, but to help you recognize the opportunities and responsibilities before you. A door once closed may begin to open, but you need enough courage to approach it and enough wisdom to determine whether what lies beyond it is healthy. New people may appear, recognize abilities you once hid, and offer opportunities for you to contribute. But you must preserve humility so that recognition does not become a throne for pride. An invitation may arrive at the right moment. A meeting may change your direction, or an idea once dismissed may become the beginning of meaningful work. Yet do not call every coincidence guidance. Examine the fruit it produces. Whatever leads you toward truth, responsibility, peace, and love deserves consideration. Whatever urges you toward dishonesty, haste, and selfishness does not belong to the higher road. You have passed the test of endurance, but now you are entering the test of trust. Waiting inside difficulty was not easy, but stepping out when the door opens can be even more frightening. After living too long in lack, you may distrust abundance. After repeated abandonment, you may become cautious even toward people who genuinely want to remain. After becoming accustomed to protecting yourself, you may not know how to receive help. Therefore, your next lesson is to trust without becoming naive. Open your heart while remaining discerning, and move forward without possessing complete control over the outcome. I am not asking you to leap into darkness. I am inviting you to take one step at a time in the light you already have. You do not need to know how everything will unfold, but you must remain faithful to what you already know is right. Perhaps your heart is beating quickly as you sense the old season coming to an end. That nervousness does not necessarily signal danger. Sometimes it appears because you are standing before something larger than your familiar limitations. You have spent so long making yourself small that the thought of stepping out, speaking, or receiving new responsibility fills you with both anticipation and fear. Breathe slowly and remember that you have not been left alone at this threshold. I was beside you in every valley, including the times when you could no longer feel my presence. I preserved you through dark roads, not so that you would build a home there, but so that you would learn how to carry light when you emerged. You are still here, not merely because you were fortunate, but because strength lifted you through every day when you believed you could not continue. Now that strength will no longer serve only to help you survive. It is being transformed into something that can support many people. What you learned in solitude will help you understand those who feel forgotten. The times you had to begin again will enable you to encourage those ashamed of failure. The days of lack will teach you to use resources with gratitude when abundance arrives. Your light does not need to be so brilliant that people admire you. It needs to be sincere enough that someone in despair can look at you and believe they, too, can rise. You are not being lifted to prove your superiority, but to become hands that give, a voice that heals, and a presence that brings peace into chaotic places. Therefore, beloved, stop calling the previous years a wasted part of your life. They were a training room where you were prepared for what is approaching. Leave behind the shame of someone who was forgotten and stand in the posture of one who has been refined. Care for what you possess. Complete every small responsibility. Keep your promises. Protect your peace. And never despise the opportunity to begin again. When the right door opens, you will not need to beg for belonging. What I have built within you will help you recognize where you should stand. You passed through the valley, but the valley is no longer your name. You cried, but tears are not your future. People may have forgotten you, but you never disappeared from my sight. Lift your head and move forward, because what was refined in secret is now ready to be revealed. And your light will not only illuminate your own road, but will open hope for those waiting for a sign that they, too, can begin again.